Wrestling has more than one royal family.
This is my third rant on WWE after all of the awesome professional wrestling and combat sports I've seen. I've decided that in my last WWE video, which was my thoughts on WWE and a short review of one of the Raw shows, I don't remember the date. But I decided that in that review, I was being way too polite. See, WWE is good. WWE is okay when you compare it to last year. I can't remember anything that was good about last year. Whereas this year, thanks to the return of Goldberg and the introduction of the Cruiserweight Championship Series and several wrestlers last year who were in terrible positions, like Heath Slater and Seth Rollins, are in positions they should be in as like top baby faces for this promotion. So this promotion is at least better than last year, and several other things like the Lost Matadors gimmick is gone. Past stars like Jericho is back. Rhino is back. Shelton Benjamin is supposed to be coming back soon. The Headbangers made one appearance on SmackDown Wrestling. I think it was Slater and Rhino. I can't remember who they wrestled, but the Headbangers made back. And like I said, Shelton Benjamin is returning in Goldberg's return. So it's at least better than last year. When I do my end of the year WWE year-end review / rant, you'll actually hear there'll be actually good stuff. Whereas last year, I can't remember anything that was good about last year. So yeah, but however, WWE, like I said, when you compare it to last year, it sucks. When you compare it to TNA and every other wrestling promotion and real fighting, real combat sports, it is the worst. It is the worst piece of crap. It is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. It is the worst program product on television. The WWE. Before I start, man, when it comes to WWE has made me absolutely hate wrestling. I am embarrassed to say that I ever at once liked this garbage. When I see WWE, I'm like, why do I like this? Why do you watch wrestling? When I see how trash and terrible, corny, lame, and nerdy WWE is, which is why I'm so happy that last year Dana White, when I think it was one WWE fan said, Dana, you need to make UFC you need to make UFC you need to make the UFC fights more affordable to me. And then Dana White, and he says, and then the guy said, WWE pay-per-views are only $9.99 a month, and Dana White said, yeah, fake fights should be cheap. And then the guy got all butthurt, and all Seth Rollins, Taz, and all the wrestlers, Bubba, all got butthurt because Dana White called WWE out on what it was. It was fake and trash. And even just said that he respects the wrestlers, but it's fake. It's trash. It's fake as trash. I'm so happy that Joe Rogan back in 2014 buried the hell out of WWE. He did put over TNA, saying they had a lot of cool Bellator fighters, and he's put over TNA in several UFC videos, but he took a piss out of WWE. And I used to defend pro wrestling from MMA fans, but after the garbage I've seen from WWE, I respect professional wrestling, the art of professional wrestling, which in my opinion is still found in the indies and stuff, in TNA and the indies, but I, however, do not respect the WWE. I do not respect or support the WWE. In my opinion, that promotion needs to be out of business. Back in the 2000s, I always wanted TNA to become bigger so they could challenge the WWE and take us back to an era similar to the 80s, the 90s, or the Monday Night Wars, which I thought were the best eras of professional wrestling. Take us back to the past eras of wrestling. But but now I just want that company out of business. I just want that company out of business. Out of business. I just can't stand that company. Maybe WWE will be better when Vince McMahon dies. Maybe because I hate NXT. This is when you know WWE sucks, when I'm about to put over NXT, which I absolutely can't stand. But that NXT Takeover show, which I read about but haven't watched yet, that which happened the same weekend as Survivor Series, that show looks like it was way better than Survivor Series 2016. Survivor Series 2016, I had low expectations going into that pay-per-view, but I at least expected Brock Lesnar and Goldberg to be good. I was actually worried about Brock Lesnar and Goldberg when I saw Goldberg struggling on Raw during his fight scene with Rusev, and to put that on a pay-per-view, a squash match on a pay-per-view. I don't care what the circumstances were. Yeah, it's been announced now that they did that they did that because Goldberg is having more dates, is wrestling more dates, and will be entering the 2017 Royal Rumble. I may watch that, but right now I don't care. Because you put a squash match in the main event of a pay-per-view. I'm gonna rant more about that later in the video, but that pay-per-view right there was just terrible. When you compare it to all of the awesome shows we've seen, but I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. I'm gonna continue more with the MMA UFC stuff, MMA professional wrestling stuff. So yeah, I'm so happy that Dana White and Joe Rogan bashed the hell out of WWE. I'm sick of WWE fans not only defending this garbage, not only liking and defending this garbage. I'm sick of WWE fans walking around thinking they're better than everyone else because they happen to watch the biggest wrestling promotion in North America, and the biggest wrestling promotion in North America sucks. Professional wrestling as a whole is nowhere near as it's supposed to be, but yet these guys think they're all that because they're watching the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. Not only that, they're watching the biggest, the fakest, and worst wrestling promotion to ever exist, the WWE. Yeah, the UFC and Bellator fans do this, but that's real. Yeah, when they come up arguing which promotion is better and comparing fighters and stuff, that's real fighters. That's real fighters and real fights and stuff. That's real fights and stuff. So you can, I hate it there too, but you can the MMA community, you can kind of understand where they're coming from. Whereas professional wrestling is fake and terrible. WWE is the fakest and worst one. And then so I'm happy. And then of course my boy Conor McGregor, taking a royal piss out of the WWE, burying John Cena and the entire WWE roster. So happy he buried this, because I take offense to a lot of these guys, particularly Cena, Triple H, Undertaker, these three. I take offense to these guys. A lot of these WWE wrestlers, not all, but a lot of them, walking around calling themselves real wrestlers, real athletes, and more important than that, champions when they're scripted to win belts. Calling themselves real champions, man. I can't stand wrestlers in the business who take wrestling way too seriously, and that's Taker, Triple H, John Cena. You got Triple H having multiple title wins, beating all the people he didn't deserve to beat, and thinking and acting like this is real. You got Taker, who in real life actually believes the WWE is his yard. What he says in his promos, he actually believes that garbage in real life. When he's the fakest, he's the fake. Undertaker's the one of the worst and fakest wrestlers of all time. Of all time, his whole career was a gimmick. That's all he is a gimmick. All he is a gimmick, and people act like, oh, this stuff is real. His streak and stuff, which in my opinion sucks. All this stuff, and then you got John Cena wanting to break Ric Flair's record, as if that would like make him like a better wrestler in the eyes of the people. You will still be hated. You will still be hated. You've held 16. You've won 16 world titles in scripted fake fights that you were set up to win. He acts like, but they act like they're walking around with real championships, like they won these for real. It's the wrestler who puts over the belt. The wrestler in the storyline who puts over the belt. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but what Russo said is true. The belts are props. That's what they are. The wrestler puts over the belt. The wrestler puts over the belt. So, yeah, I got a problem with WWE. Yeah, fake fighting needs to just disappear, man. And promotions like TNA need to represent professional wrestling. But WWE, that crap needs to just disappear, man. That crap is just terrible, man. That crap is just terrible. That's why I'm happy Conor McGregor took a piss out of the WWE, pissing off all those annoying WWE fans. All those annoying WWE fans. Like I said, I support professional wrestling, but I do not support WWE, man. That crap needs, like I said, that crap needs to disappear, man. Um, um, yeah. Then now let's talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff. See, WWE, the behind the scenes stuff. Vito said it. Vito has a long shoot interview here on YouTube where he talks about when he, because Big Vito, he filed a lawsuit against WWE last year for the concussions and stuff, and the lack of a union for wrestlers. And it was an interesting shoot video. See, Vito and all these guys who were suing WWE, I thought all of these guys were just looking for a quick paycheck, and some of them may still be looking for that. We're looking for a quick paycheck. We're looking for a quick paycheck, but no. What Vito was saying, Vito claims he has money and all this stuff. He has money saved up from years and years on the road, from in all his businesses and stuff. But he claims that he is trying to help the wrestling business, because he claims that, yeah, in wrestling there are no unions, and pretty much WWE, they are actually hold some responsibility towards the concussions and some of the injuries these wrestlers are getting. Because remember the problem I've had with WWE. See, WWE, the difference between them and other wrestling promotions. Wrestling is a violent and dangerous sport, professional wrestling. But here's the difference between WWE. WWE forces wrestlers to travel on the road. They force them to work through pain. If they want to keep their spot, and they don't even pay their hotels and stuff. They don't, and some of that still goes on today. I hear in NXT they pay you for your hotels and stuff, but on WWE, no, they don't. That's why some wrestlers like Eric Young stay on NXT and never come to the main roster. Now choose to stay on NXT and never come to the main roster. Eric Young has signed a contract to appear on NXT, but he's not under contract with WWE yet. So and that's why, see, by forcing these guys to travel and work through pain, you're increasing the chances for injuries. That's why any injury and death that takes place in WWE, I automatically blame the guy who caused it in WWE. And like I said, in WWE, see, in WWE, all the disgusting things they've done behind the scenes makes it impossible to focus on screen. Then when you get to on screen, it's even worse. The behind the scenes stuff, and the problem I've had, and the behind the scenes stuff. So like I said, Big Vito and his concussions. Big Vito, and his so like I said, so his concussions things was interesting. He said wrestlers for years and years have tried to get unions for the wrestlers, but they couldn't. They couldn't. And now finally, there's a chance to look into. There's a chance to look at look at this, and that's why he's suing the WWE. That's why he's suing the WWE, and you have 60 other wrestlers suing the WWE. See, I'm a hater. I want that company dead. I think I deem the stuff they've done to be unforgivable. To be unforgivable, they're not sorry for any of the stuff they've done over the past, and even if they are, they waited till all these wrestlers were dead, several careers were broken, to finally take a look at things like steroids, drugs, concussions, and all this stuff in their industry. And like I said, I deemed it disgusting and unforgivable. All the stuff they've done on television, all the stuff they like the stereotypical, highly offensive, racist characters and things they've done on television. Television did not owning up to it when Hogan came out and made those scandalous remarks on that sex tape. Vince McMahon, they had the audacity. They had the audacity to sit up there after doing all that racist stuff in the past. They had the audacity to sit up there and say, we embrace the ethnicity and the backgrounds of all wrestlers, and we don't stand or tolerate racism. They couldn't own up to all the bad things they did. I can't stand Donald Trump, but at least one thing I can say, he has the balls to come out and say what he truly believes. Vince McMahon does bad things, says things behind closed doors, and when it's brought to the attention to everyone, he always finds a way to weasel out of it. He weaseled out of the steroid trials. He knowingly he didn't. This is why he's not in jail and why WWE is still why he's still in control of WWE. He had the nerve. He didn't force wrestlers to take steroids. However, if they wanted the top spots, if they wanted to wrestle in his company, if they wanted to be champion, they had to take steroids. And then when all of these guys started dying, he weaseled his way out of the steroid trials. The Owen Hart controversy. He weaseled his way out of this. The Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. The Eddie Guerrero death. He weaseled his way after this. Actually, it wasn't until Guerrero died when they finally decided to have a wellness policy. For years, they had guys failing drug tests, being on steroids and stuff, dying and not caring until Eddie Guerrero died. An employee wrestling for WWE at the time died. Then, of course, Benoit, their part in the double murder suicide. Like I said, Benoit and Guerrero, if they wanted to be champions in WWE, they had to take steroids. They had to become big. They had to take steroids. They wanted to be world champions. They would have been in WWE, but they would have never been nowhere near the world title scene if it wasn't for them taking roids, them forcing these guys to travel, which causes them to use steroids and painkillers to take the pain away. So like I said, I deemed all the stuff they've done to be unforgivable, unforgivable. I hope this lawsuit right here, this wrestler Chavo Guerrero and several other wrestlers are now suing WWE. I hope this lawsuit hits the WWE hard, man. Hits the WWE hard because they need to do something about professional wrestling. I'm sick of Vince McMahon getting away with all the bad things he does. All the bad things he does. And then this right here was the final straw I had with WWE. I've never mentioned this in previous posts because I couldn't prove it. And that was Ryback. Ryback criticized the WWE for not valuing for only valuing the top stars and wrestlers who are told the job. This is, like I said, this is unlike other sports. WWE is a scripted universe where the winners and losers are chosen. So you have wrestlers who are told to lose, who are told to lose a job and put over other wrestlers, being punished and not being paid what they're supposed to be paid just for doing their job. No, I've criticized, and for anyone who has a problem with me criticizing this, I buried the UFC for this. You know I'm gonna bury WWE for this. At least in the UFC, that's a real sport. Yeah, they cheap. They don't pay. They're not paying people the money they should be paying them either. and they force them, and they prevent them from working for other companies too. But the difference between UFC and WWE is UFC is real. You have the chance. UFC is pretty much the real form of WWE. You have the chance to make yourself a draw by putting on awesome fights and your character. So while I do hate the fact that Dana doesn't pay the fighters, some of the fighters, the money they're owed, but the fighters there have the ability to do something with their name. They have the ability to go out there and steal the show and stuff, and steal the show and become as big as Conor McGregor. WWE is not like that. This is a world where the winners and losers are decided by bookers, So I will not have you not paying wrestlers what they owe. And then WWE, but keep in mind, the wrestlers can't have other jobs outside of wrestling. They can't form unions. They can't wrestle for other companies. This is why I don't punish TNA for this. TNA, they cheat people. They don't pay people the money they're supposed to be paying either. But the difference between TNA and WWE, TNA doesn't force people to travel. TNA also lets wrestlers work, have other jobs, and let them wrestle for other companies. That's why TNA, they're the lesser of two evils between WWE, between the WWE. But WWE does all of this, and what's his name? But I see, I couldn't prove this because this was brought up 4 years ago. There was WrestleMania 28, where since WrestleMania 28 was hugely successful, all the wrestlers in the business thought that they were gonna get a huge payday from WrestleMania 28. Oh no, only Vince McMahon and the top stars got a huge payday. All the other wrestlers got, what was it, $100? And if you put the taxes on that, it's even lesser than that. It's even lesser. It's even lesser than that. But the only wrestler who was reportedly whining and complaining was JTG. And I hated JTG and Shad Gaspar. I hated both of these guys. Now listening to their shoot interviews and hearing what they had to go through in the WWE locker room, and seeing that the crime time gimmick, which I hated, was Vince and the creative team's idea. I now actually feel sorry for them. So while I didn't like or care about them as wrestlers, as people, I respect them for what they went through and for trying to live their dream, and hate what happened to them in WWE. But I couldn't prove it at the time because that was JTG and Shad, whom I couldn't stand. But now to hear that they're not only are the wrestlers forced to travel, forced to work through pain, and not getting the pushes they deserve, getting buried on TV, but they're getting cheated out of money too. And that's right there. Like I said, that's why I want WWE shut down. And hopefully this lawsuit hits them hard. This 60 wrestler. And I hope they mention that too. I hope they mention the difference between working for WWE and working for other companies. See, for all you people out there who talk about the wrestlers wrestling for other companies, yes, WCW, ECW, the territories in the independent circuits, they do not have road schedules. They do not force wrestlers to travel, and they let wrestlers wrestle and have other jobs out of wrestling to make extra money. WWE does not allow any of this. They force you to go on the road. They force you to pay for your own hotels and houses. That's why you see wrestlers sharing houses and hotels. And that's why you see wrestlers sharing houses and hotels, and of course, and yeah. So now they're not paying them the money they're owed, even though this is a scripted universe where the winners and losers are decided. And before anyone tries to bring up the top star BS, I'm gonna rip this apart right now. Once again, WWE is not real. Every wrestler is valued. Every wrestler and employee is valued. So don't come here and say top stars and jobbers. Without jobbers, you have no stars. That's the difference between real sports and WWE. You need jobbers to what's his name? What if the jobbers, who are usually better than the top stars, the jobbers are always usually better wrestling wise and fighting wise than the top stars. What if they decide, I'm not gonna lose. I'm gonna sandbag and not job. That will kill the wrestler's character right there. What if all the wrestlers who put Rock, Austin, Bret Hart and them over with Rock Austin. Bret Hart can, I think he can beat anyone, but Rock Austin, um, Batista, Cena. What if all these wrestlers decided we're not putting this guy over? We're not putting this guy over. That would have killed his character right there. That would have killed his character right there. So you need enhancement talents, you need jobbers and all that to make top stars good, to make top stars good. So every wrestler on the every wrestler, every worker on the roster is valued. You're not coming in with that top star jobber, mid carder BS. Everyone. You need all of these to make the show good. It's a team effort. It's a team effort. So yeah, so that was right now my final straw with WWE. I want that place out of business. I don't want another Monday Night War. I want that place out of business, or at least for Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn to be relieved of their duties. And I can't stand Triple H, but maybe the product would be better under him. Maybe it would be better under him. Because that, like I said, I haven't watched that NXT. I haven't watched the NXT Takeover show, but it looks like it was way better than Survivor Series. And the deals, and like I said, the deals in NXT are much better than when you get to the main roster, Raw and SmackDown. So with that being said, yeah. So yeah, I hope this lawsuit hits WWE hard, man. Hits WWE hard, man. Next is next is like I said, a problem I've had with WWE is the racism. I'm not talking about titles. The black champion thing, even though that was interesting, them never really having a real, besides The Rock, having a real African American heavyweight champion hold what they consider the most important title, the WWE Championship, right there. That was interesting, but I don't care about that anymore because that is a prop to me. That's not a real championship, and you're not real champions. The rest is characters in wrestling. The wrestler makes the belt. So what's his name? Right now you have AJ Styles, Kevin Owens with the titles, and I don't care. And I don't care. I don't care because they're trying to use the titles to put those guys over instead of those guys putting over the titles. Instead of those guys putting over the title, instead of those guys putting over the championship. It's the character and the wrestler and the storyline that makes the belt. That makes the belt. So the black champion thing doesn't bother me anymore. I'm talking about all the races, the stereotypical trash gimmicks and storylines, and that's it right there. Um, so let's start off with you have and then finally when Hogan came out with his sex tape, or I mean not the sex tape, but on the mixtape, whatever the tape, he's made those scandalous remarks with made those scandalous remarks. Once again, what Hogan said is what WWE believes and is the WWE reality. WWE had the nerve to not only fire, not only remove him from the Hall of Fame, but fire him from WWE and move away from him when what Hogan said represent what your company what Hogan said what your company believes, but then had the audacity to sit up there and say to sit up there and say oh, we embrace the backgrounds of all the opportunities of all individual. We don't tolerate racism and we can't stand it. Not owning up to all those bad things you did. Let's start off from the past. You had Slick. First off, you had him in a video. First off, a manager named Slick. He had a video called Slime Jive Bro. Slime Jive Bro. With the whole video was just stereotypical of what the whole video was just stereotypical of what white man think of African American culture. And man, I mentioned him eating close up of him eating fried chicken. Close up of him eating fried chickens. Saba Simba, Tony Atlas's gimmick. Saba Simba. And then it's just stereotypical racist crap. It's not a storyline like Virgil, which this one I like, with Virgil with Virgil with him being Ted DiBiase's helper, and him eventually breaking free of Ted DiBiase to the roar of the crowd, or Ron Simmons's racist feud with Lex Luger and Ron Simmons, where Les Luger, I think, told him to be his chauffeur, something like that, and that led to Ron Simmons becoming the first African American world heavyweight champion. No, it's just stereotypical racist crap. It's not part of really any real storyline. WrestleMania 1990, you got Rowdy Piper come into the ring and half blackface, half blackface. Then you got several years later, Goldust coming out in full on blackface. And like I said, this is not storylines. So if people try to say, oh, they do this in movies there's a storyline, there's some kind of angle. This is not storylines. This is just racially stereotypical garbage. Garbage. Then of course, oh yes, oh you got Dusty Rhodes. Give him a overweight, pair him up with an overweight woman named, and you name her Sapphire. And um, which is a derogatory term for African American, sassy African American women. Next is what else? What else? Flash, Flash, Flash Funk, Godfather. Yeah, the Godfather would only work in at times, but like what you call said, this was a black man talking about getting high and pimping off white women, and Flash Funk was kind of that too, except that was kind of PG. That was kind of PG. Love Men on a Mission, but yeah, it's more stereotypical garbage. And I actually liked Men on a Mission. They were ahead of their time. What's his name? And then to the 2000 to the into the 2000s, Booker T in WCW was badass. Was a serious competitor in WWE. He shows you how awesome Booker T is because he made all this stuff work, but they portrayed him as a idiotic, dumb, stereotypical loud African American, pairing him up with Goldust. The racist promo of Triple H, where Triple H told him that Booker T could not be champion in wrestling, could not be a champion, can never be a champion. Then Triple H burying Booker T at WrestleMania. Next is other wrestlers, non African American wrestlers who were even treated worse and getting even more stereotypical gimmicks by the WWE. It's too many to name right at this point. Then of course into the 2000s, Shelton Benjamin, the horrible mama angle, which led to nothing. He was already Intercontinental Champion. He beat Randy Orton for the Intercontinental Champion. I think it was he beat Randy Orton for the Intercontinental Championship at Backlash 2004, I think. At Backlash 2004, I think. And this led to nothing. Shelton Benjamin was in the mid-card for pretty much most of his career. So that horrible mama angle, not just any mama, like off the rope, Slag Native off the rope show Sled, but a mama who feels so many stereotypes. Crime Time. I remember hating these guys. Their gimmicks. I can't stand thug and hip hop acts in wrestling. If you're gonna be a rapper, you better be that for real. R-Truth, I tolerate him because that is who R-Truth is. He's from the streets and he's a rapper. That's who he is. You better be real. No more fake rappers like John Cena. Fake rappers or thugs or something. If you're a thug, you better be intimidating like the Low-Key's Rock Roller stable and Ring of Honor. Low-Key and Homicide's Rock Roller stable and Ring of Honor. In the promotion I watched, NWA Anarchy, there were two gang-like stables, one called Blackout, another one called the Urban Assault Squad, and LAX and TNA. You better be legit. You better be real. Crime Time. I couldn't stand their gimmick. They were fake, terrible, stereotypical. But now I'm even more angry to hear that it wasn't their idea. It was WWE's idea for them to sag their pants, Timberlands, commit all the crimes on TV. So like I said, it's terrible gimmicks. Then Vince McMahon coming on live television and saying the N word, and once again, people say, well, it's the fictional character saying it. Still, it was just random. No storyline behind it. It was just Vince McMahon coming on television saying the N word, saying the N word. Not to mention all these sexist things they have done. So see, then finally doing all this stuff, but not only throwing Hogan out of the Hall of Fame, which I don't consider legit anyway. I'm gonna bury the Hall of Fame in a minute. I don't consider the Hall of Fame legit anyway. Burying Hogan, removing Hogan from the Hall of Fame, removing Hogan from the Hall of Fame, but distancing yourself from Hogan, which this is one reason I watch your show. See, Hogan can't wrestle anymore, which also sucks, and I blame on WWE. I blame on WWE, but Hogan at WrestleMania, what was it? 20, what was it? 30. 30. Hulk Hogan, Rock, and Austin, three of the biggest stars in this industry, had me hyped for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 30 was actually awesome because you had Hogan, Rock, and Austin hyping me in the beginning of the show. Now you don't have that anymore. You don't have that anymore. You don't have a guy like Hogan who can talk people into the arenas. You don't have no one like that in WWE now who can talk people and get people into the arenas, man. You don't have no one in WWE who can do that now. Who can do that now? So that's one thing we don't have. But then distancing yourself and not owning up to all the bad things you did, doing all these bad things, but not owning up to them. When WCW did all that stuff, in 2000, Harrison Hardbody and Sonny Uno and several other wrestlers sued WCW for racial discrimination that led to Stevie Ray getting an announcing job and partially led to Booker T becoming a five-time World Heavyweight Champion. And you saw more wrestlers like Kaz Hayashi and the Luchadors being featured on TV during that period. Ernest the Cat Miller became commissioner. So WCW were called out on this and they were addressed. And this racist and stereotypical stuff is WWE. You'd be surprised. Every other company, with the exception of Mexico and Europe, and that's because no black wrestlers wrestle there, had an African American champion. Even New Japan had Bob Sapp as their IWPB Junior Heavyweight champion. So there's been what's his name, and what's his name in WWE. Oh yeah, and today you still have the New Day. I absolutely hate the New Day, man. I absolutely hate the New Day. First of all, not only is the gimmick terrible, it is fake. It is fake. Not only is it terrible and fake, but and not who either one of those guys are, but it's unoriginal. It's a ripoff of the Man on a Mission gimmick from the 90s. The music even has the same theme tune. Except, they made it even more lame. They made them gospel singers and dancers coming out dancing, shucking and jiving, putting their butts in people's faces, talking about bootios. Man, I hate WWE. Faggot garbage, boy. Yeah, this is pussy shit. This is pussy shit. This ain't wrestling. This is pussy shit. Like I said, this crap makes me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan, and I'm a huge fan of Big E, Kofi, and Xavier, but F them for agreeing to this gimmick, boy. I'm sorry, I understand you guys want to work there, but how does Vince McMahon come up to you or anyone come to you with this gimmick? You don't slap or punch the living crap out of them, man. Punch the living crap out of them, man. Punch the living crap out of them. And this gimmick is still on TV. The gimmick is still on my television. So like I said, all the racist things they've done. Hall of Fame next. WWE has done so many disgusting things. You had Jimmy Snuka murder his wife in a Roy Rage event in WWE for years. I didn't even know this. For years, covered this up, and he's still in the Hall of Fame. You have Austin, who beat his wife Deborah. He's still in the Hall of Fame. You have Donald Trump making illegal comments about Mexican immigrants. He's still in the Hall of Fame. You have Mike Tyson going off on people in interviews, and is a convicted rapist. He's still in the Celebrity Hall of Fame. You have stuff you didn't know. You had Ultimate Warrior, the late Jimmy Huey, Ultimate Warrior, making derogatory comments towards homosexuals when he was alive, during his career as a motivational speaker, making derogatory comments about gay people. Gay people. He's still in what's his name. You have Greg the Hammer Valentine making sexist comments towards women despite the fact you're trying to embrace women. And for years you've had you were like sexist towards women from the violence seen against women on TV, seen against women like Sherry Hogan. Hogan in the 80s. Hogan giving Sherry an atomic drop and I think cutting off her ponytail. Unnecessary violence and abuse towards women. Um, then of course having Trish get on her knees, and bark like a dog, bark like a dog. Having women only on television back in the Attitude Era, having only pretty women on TV, showcasing them and only having them just there to strip, and ugly women are pretty much there to be a punchline and be buried and stuff. Making fat jokes against Vicky. I don't care if Vicky. Honestly, I'm happy Vicky left WWE. She was not doing her husband proud. She was embarrassing the Guerrero name and once again embarrassing herself and embarrassing professional wrestling. Embarrassing and just WWE was just burying her, making fat jokes and having her be the butt of several instances. They were against bullying when they have people like Vicky and several other wrestlers being bullied on television. They be bullying people behind the scenes. One of the security workers says the WWE culture is basically bullying. And for anyone who gives me that rites of passage BS where they bully you and you have to take it, I've always been against that, man. I've always been against it. There's no rites of passage. It's you being an asshole and being immature and which is there. That's what it is. I've always had a problem with that. Always had a problem with that. John Cena. I'm both a hater and I was both a hater and a defender of John Cena. Now I'm just a straight up hater of him. I like several parts of his career, but I just can't stand that bastard. I just can't stand that bastard. I will never forgive him for ruining Alex Riley's, Ken Dyksha's careers and getting Carlito fired. And also I heard he bullied Carlito too. I will never forgive John Cena for that. So yeah, that's another problem I have with WWE. But you have all these guys. WWE does all these things. Yet yet Hogan gets kicked out. Like I said, the Hall of Fame is a joke. The Hall of Fame is full of murderers, druggies, rapists, convicts, and everything. I would never consider that. I would never recognize that as a legit Hall of Fame, man. Macho Man couldn't even get into the Hall of Fame. I would love to have him get into Hall of Fame when he was alive. And speaking of Macho Man, he's another one. Macho Man. I thought he died from some various illnesses because he's dealt with illnesses his entire life. No, Macho Man died of heart failure, and he not only that, Macho Man Randy Savage was one of the admitted steroid users. So once again, Mr. Man, yeah, um, unintentionally responsible for Macho Man's, indirectly responsible for Macho Man's death. Another death in wrestling. And another death in wrestling. So like I said, all the things they've done, yet they kick Hogan out of the Hall of Fame and fire him from the WWE. Fire him from the WWE. Can't own him. See, like I said, I can't stand Trump. But at least like one thing I can respect about Trump over Vince McMahon that I would never respect. Not only does Vince McMahon do bad things, he can't own up to him. He always finds a way to weasel out. The steroid trials couldn't handle prison or whatever consequence would have happened if he would have found guilty of these crimes. So he lied like a bastard. On the Darnell show. On the Darnell show. When Owen Hart died, he found first not only did he continue the show like nothing happened, nothing happened. He had the nerve to say he had the nerve to say, he had the nerve to come on there, he had the nerve to when he was being interviewed about the incident, he had the nerve to tell the people, oh, they don't work in the business, they don't understand what's going on, they don't understand what's going on. No, no, you knowingly did something, and you found a way to get out of it. You found a way to get out of it. Then of course, and then I hate the Owen Hart one because Owen Hart was partially Vince Russo's fault. Vince Russo's fault, but I hate Vince McMahon for not being the adult, for not being the adult and being what he claims he is, the filter for Vince Russo's bad ideas, which he wasn't, for being the filter for Vince Russo's bad ideas, for being the filter for Vince Russo, and make to this day make himself like he was this genius and Russo was this idiot. Vince Russo was this idiot. Then we got to the Eddie Guerrero death. Up until Guerrero died, there was no drug testing or wellness policy. Wellness policy. Then they test who they did. Another thing I learned from Vito's podcast. They test who they want to test. They test who they want to test. You had Benoit when he was alive failing multiple steroid tests and not doing anything about it. Then forcing these guys to travel, which forces them to use painkillers, concussions, forcing them to be away from their families, which causes their marriages to fall apart. And yeah, so like I said, Vince McMahon is indirectly responsible for all these deaths, and he can't own up to any of them. And like I said, all this behind the scenes stuff makes it impossible to focus on what's on screen. All the other promotions have done some terrible things over the past, but they've not done anything to the level of what WWE has done. TNA, WCW, the Independents, ECW. None of these promotions have done anything. They've done some disgusting things, but none of these promotions have done anything like so offensive where I can't watch or enjoy the product anymore. So like I said, that's why I said I hope this lawsuit hits him hard. I'm finally happy. I wish they would have done this sooner, but I'm finally happy wrestlers are coming out suing them. WWE is finally being criticized, thrown on the bus for all the stuff they do on screen and all the stuff they do behind closed doors. So like I said, WWE is just straight up trash, man. Let's get on to the on-screen product, man. Let's get to that on-screen product, man. I hate WWE's on-screen product, man. I hate their on-screen product, man. I hate the WWE's on-screen product. Like I said before, it's better than last year, but it's still terrible. It's better than last year, but it's still terrible. Let's start off with probably my favorite two feuds. Let's get to the Heath Slater and Dolph Ziggler. Heath Slater, Rhino, and Dolph Ziggler versus the Spirit Squad and Miz feud. First off, good. You brought Kenny Dykstra back, another underutilized WWE talent. You brought him back to wrestling. Why is he the Spirit Squad gimmick? Why are they the Spirit Squad gimmick? That defeats his transformation into Kenny Dykstra. The purpose of his transformation to Kenny Dykstra back in 2007. The Spirit Squad gimmick was holding him back. Why is he the Spirit Squad again? So it's good that Kenny, Nikki, and them came back, but why are they the Spirit Squad? Why are they using the Spirit Squad gimmick? Like I said, stupid. And then Rhino. Rhino was such a complex character in TNA. Now he's back. One thing I couldn't stand about WWE Rhino was just another big, dumb powerhouse. A wrestler who's more brawn than brains. Brains. Where in TNA they made his, when ECW he was a monster heel, and in TNA they made him a more realistic character, tackling his personal life and his history and treating him like a veteran and stuff. He's a veteran in WWE, but he's just now back to being a generic powerhouse. His reason, Heath Slater, his reason for turning face, he wants to be a hero to his son. Rhino's is he wants to destroy. He can't stand male cheerleaders. Lame. Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, which their feud is good. Their feud is good. We've seen this already. We've seen this already. And Dolph Ziggler, man. I'm off the Dolph Ziggler bandwagon. I love Dolph Ziggler's character, but I cannot stand his wrestling style in matches. Dolph Ziggler, if this was the previous eras of WWE, he would be a jobber. See, I badly wanted Dolph Ziggler to go to TNA, somewhere like TNA, because not only would he be treated better, but he would work with people who can, who can force him to have better matches, because his matches in WWE are terrible. Selling is pretty much selling, and kicking is all he's good at. His moves look terribly fake. His moves look fake. His moves look fake and not believable. His punches are absolutely atrocious, man. Dolph Ziggler is one of the rare things. Dolph Ziggler is one of these rare things, and Brock Lesnar and Jack Swagger are this too. He's one of the rare people who are they're good amateur wrestlers, but they're terrible professional wrestlers. If you were to put them in an amateur wrestling tournament, they could win a gold medal. You put these guys in put these guys out in the crowd and tell them to work a match, they are terrible. They are terrible. And that's why Dolph Ziggler, character-wise, which is what everyone criticizes him for, character-wise and promo-wise is good, but wrestling-wise is terrible, and he will be a jobber in any previous era of wrestling. Next you got the second best feud is Seth Rollins feud with, I think he's feuding with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Oh yes, you finally turned Seth Rollins face and you finally ended the Authority. Oh, too bad you couldn't do that when I actually care about WWE, when I actually cared about WWE. Yeah, let's go back to the Sting thing, which did you, as angry as the Sting thing from last year, as much as that made me angry, that made me so angry that not only did I stop watching WWE, I forgot about it. I completely forgot about the WrestleMania match they had last year. Now that I've been reminded of that, and also sadly to say, the retirement of Sting. Before I continue with the Jericho and Seth Rollins feud, let me go back to the Sting. Let me go back to the Sting burial thing from last year. See, when Sting left TNA, for years, I never wanted Sting to go to WWE. I wanted him to be the wrestler who proved that you can be big without never going to the WWE. I wanted him to never go to the WWE. I wanted him to never go to the WWE. I wanted him to finish his career with TNA. Now, after seeing how WWE treated him, and pretty much ended his career, I wish he would have stayed in TNA. I want him to go to WWE because, in my opinion, I didn't think he fit in with the new era that TNA was doing with Magnus, Rockstar Spud, and EC3, the new era they were doing at the time. Now, seeing how awesome TNA is now, think of Sting could have having awesome matches with EC3, Lashley, Drew Galloway, the Miracle, Mike Bennett, Eli Drake, Aaron Drax, Aaron Drax. He could have renewed his feud with Jeff Jarrett. All the awesome matches and feuds Sting could have had in WWE, could have had in TNA if he would have chose to finish his career with TNA, which is what I had hoped. Finish his career with in TNA. No, instead he goes to WWE. First of all, when he gets there, the Monday night. First off, when he gets there, his role in WWE was to take out the Authority and bring balance and order back to professional wrestling. That was what Sting's character was in TNA. That's what his character should have been in WWE. No, instead, when we finally get to the match with him and Triple H, instead of it being about Sting taking out the Authority, it becomes a rehash of the Monday Night Wars and a crappy NWO versus DX storyline where you got the NWO Red, you got the NWO Wolfpack coming out there. You got NWO coming out there all slow, being all old, coming out there to help Sting. When Sting, first off, he left WCW and spent years and years in the rafters, taking out the NWO. He only joined the Wolfpack because his best buddy Lex Luger convinced him to. Lex Luger convinced him to. So the stable that became the Sting character, became the Crow character to take out, was now assisting him. Then you had X-Pac, who was part of both of these. Like I said, this was just trash. This was just trash. Then yeah, Triple H beat him. And you know what? You know what? I've been watching so much of Sting's WCW and TNA career. I forgot he was in WWE. I completely forgot about it. That crap made me so bad. I forgot that Sting was in WWE. WrestleMania 31 was terrible, and I forgot all about that WrestleMania and all about Sting. Then let's continue. Then the next night, even though he lost at WrestleMania, he begins to challenge Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, even though his butt lost at WrestleMania, making Sting look even more stupid. Then he fights Seth Rollins. Then Seth Rollins injures him. I like how Sting in TNA was never injured. TNA was taken care of and was taken care of in WWE. In his second match, he gets injured. His second match in WWE, he gets injured now and is now forced to retire. Is now forced to retire. It is now forced to retire. I wish he would have stayed at TNA after this. So you have the retirement of Sting. So because Sting did not enter the Authority, that continued on for like another year and finally ended earlier this year. Oh, wait a minute. You should have done that last year. The Authority should have ended. The Authority should have ended at WrestleMania 31. Sting should have took out the Authority and Seth Rollins should have turned face and cashed in his Money to Bank against Brock Lesnar. I don't know why Seth Rollins was ever a heel. Seth Rollins should have turned face instead. You kept Seth Rollins as a pussy heel for the rest of the year, and finally now you turn him face. Only when your ratings and interest have went down. No, you should have done it when I actually cared. When your ratings have went down. When your ratings have went down. And now, like I said in previous videos, last year I predicted years from now they would get a 1. No, I made that prediction last year, and 1 year later, they're now in the 1s. They're 7 to 8 points away from a TNA rating, a TNA Impact rating. So you got the WWE fans using football and other channels as an excuse. First off, you get this rating with no competition from any other wrestling company. And yeah, all those other shows, Walking Dead, football, basketball, those are much better than watching garbage-ass wrestling on Monday nights. WWE is the worst program on television. So, yeah, terrible ratings. And I don't do, I'm a ratings whore. I stopped. 2 of my all-time favorite kids channels were Nickelodeon and Disney. I stopped watching each of them. I've just recently started watching Nickelodeon after them getting after seeing the new Power Rangers series, the new Loud House series, Alvin and Chipmunks and TMNT. But I stopped watching Nickelodeon because of the terrible ratings and what they, just like WWE, what they were doing behind the scenes, what they were doing to people behind the scenes, their behind the scenes drama. Then I stopped watching Disney for similar stuff. Their behind the scenes drama, their embarrassing television product and embarrassing shows, and their the racist things and stereotypical things they do on television. I stopped watching Disney Channel for a while. So yeah, WWE. So yeah, I'm a ratings whore. So or you have to be like a TNA. You have to be so good, TNA or Lucha Underground. You have to be so good that I can ignore the rating and watch the product. And I briefly stopped watching TNA because I was disappointed with their terrible ratings. So that's even with stuff you enjoy and like. What's his name? What's his name? Now Seth Rollins is a face, but they should have done it when I care. They should have done it when I care. The AJ Styles, James Ellsworth thing, yeah, you kind of buried AJ Styles even more by having him lose to a guy who wasn't even on the roster, and just make AJ Styles, James Ellsworth thing just makes AJ Styles look even more lame. And like I said, I don't care. AJ Styles really didn't do much of anything to really earn a title. It's the wrestler who puts over the title, not you using the title to put over the wrestler, which is what WWE does a lot nowadays. You don't see wrestlers putting over belts. You see the belts trying to put them over, which it doesn't work that way. And because I don't care. Neither AJ Styles or Kevin Owens went through much of work or went through much of it. Their characters never went through anything to earn the belts they have, so I really don't care about them as champions. They're terrible champions, in my opinion. Then you got Dean Ambrose, who Dean Ambrose he's a good character, but he's not that good of a wrestler. He's not that good of a wrestler, so I can't get into his matches. I can't get into his matches, and this was always a thing. The difference between this was even on the independent circuit. The difference between Dean Ambrose on the independent circuit, they use weapons and stuff to hide the fact this guy is not that good of a wrestler. They use weapons and stuff to hide the fact that this guy is. And actually, he's a good wrestler. He's not that good of a fighter. His punches are terrible. They used weapons to hide that, to put a mask over that. They used weapons to put a mask. Now in WWE, there are no weapons. His terrible fights are more apparent, man. His terrible fights are more apparent. You gotta have both. You gotta have work rate and character. It's both wrestling and characters for me. You can't be missing one or the other. The only people who can get over with only one are Maria Menounos in TNA and what's the other guy? Mike. I mean not Mike Minute, but Tyrus. They are not really that good of wrestlers, but they're awesome characters. What's his name? What's his name? The Brock Lesnar Goldberg feud. Listen, I'm going to bury Goldberg again. Goldberg waits 12 years to come back to wrestling. He hasn't done squat in 12 years. He comes back with his gray goatee, with his gray hair. He comes back with his gray goatee. He comes back with his gray goatee. During his fight scene with Rusev, demonstrating obvious ring rust. And see, this guy waited 12 years. During that 12 years, yeah, you don't like WWE, you could have went to TNA. Yeah, he didn't want to go to TNA because of the Pac-Man Jones thing, but you could have went to TNA, worked some matches, and hey, WWE looked at him and say, hey, we want this guy in WWE. Or if TNA wasn't good, you could have went to the independent circuit. You know how much any independent wrestling company, whether it be the Indies here, Europe, Mexico, Japan, anywhere, you know how much they would love to have a Bill Goldberg, a star the caliber of Bill Goldberg on their roster. Bill Goldberg on their roster. You could have worked matches there for years. But no, you decide at almost 50 years old to finally return to professional wrestling. And I don't care what the circumstances were behind that squash match. To put a squash match as the main event of a pay-per-view. FUW. I don't care about Goldberg in the Royal Rumble right now. Him being in the Royal Rumble in a money-making feud between Lesnar. I want to see a clash of titans. I want to see locking up like bulls, headlocks, hammer locks, punches, stiff MMA strong style punches and kicks, slams. What's his name? Not Lesnar doing his double leg takedown move, put him in the corner, shoulder blocks, Goldberg spearing him. They give him another spear and jackhammer. I'm supposed to believe that two spears and a jackhammer puts down Lesnar. I'm supposed to believe that when this guy was fighting for real in the UFC. I'm supposed to believe that a spear and a jackhammer puts him down. So like I said, fake and awful. Then you had the 5-man Survivor Series, 30-man Survivor Series match. First off, I didn't care about this Raw or SmackDown feud, but this match went on. This a 52-minute match, man. And it took away from the main event. A 52 match. Watching indie guys flop around for 52 minutes. Who wants to see that for 52 minutes, man? So like I said, that was the best and worst match on the card. Went on way too long. I was fast forwarding through multiple parts. You got the first Survivor Series match, what I like to call not the women's match, which I didn't care for. I didn't even watch that. Then you had the what I like to call the jobber 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. This didn't look like wrestling. It looked like a bunch of jobbers, out there. This was as lame and PG as you can get. It was good, but the gimmicks, the characters involved in the match, man. All these lame characters involved in the match just made the match lame, despite the fact that the work rate was actually good. Yeah, Kendrick defending against Kalisto in a match this was probably one of the best matches that did care about, where Tony Nese and Perkins, the wrestlers we want to see, are in the dark match. Are in the dark match. Then of course, the Sami Zayn and Miz, that was probably the best match of the night, which I also didn't care for. But that was probably match of the night. But so yeah, garbage Survivor Series. At best, it will be okay. I don't do okay, especially now with WWE. I don't do okay. Either you good or you suck. I'd only give leeway if you deserve it or you earned it. They've not WWE has not earned anything. Every bad thing that happens to them, they deserve. Every criticism, every bad thing, they deserve. They deserve. They deserve. They do not deserve their fans. They do not deserve anything. Every bad thing that happens to them, they deserve, man. Then for all you people who continuously defend the main event, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg saying, "Oh, this is how their matches always were." No, they weren't. Check out Brock Lesnar's match with Undertaker, the Hell in the Cell. That was a long, almost 20-minute bloody brawl. Check out his matches with Kurt Angle. His wrestling matches with Kurt Angle, which won Feud of the Year. Those were like 20 to 30 minutes, especially the Iron Man match, which I think the Iron Man match was 60 minutes. I think. The matches with who else? The matches with his match with Benoit, which was long. Brock Lesnar's match with Benoit. Goldberg. I'm gonna explain it to people. Goldberg's had matches that short. You're idiots. So you don't know what you're talking about, and you didn't watch WCW. Goldberg, he has squash matches in WCW. Now, while he has some stinkers, the matches with Disco Inferno, the match with Wrath, the match with Mike Sanders and Sean Stasiak, which were pretty much one move, two move matches. No, most of his squash matches were realistic. They let the other wrestler get in a good amount of offense. Here are some of his best ones. The first one with Hugh Morris, where they introduced him as an enhancement talent, as seemingly an enhancement talent. Then you had Hugh Morris beat the living daylights out of Goldberg the whole match, even hit his finisher, the no laughing matter on Goldberg, and Goldberg kicks out of the move, then later hits him with the spear and jackhammer for the win. Another one was his match with Stevie Ray. They let Stevie Ray get in a good amount of offense. Then his double matches with Glacier. You had the first one on Nitro where Goldberg accidentally injured Glacier, which was a 4-minute match with Glacier getting a lot of an offense. Then you had the second one on Thunder, which featured Glacier getting a huge amount of offense, and Goldberg in an awesome feat of athleticism. You see Glacier try to sweep Goldberg off his feet. Goldberg hits a backflip, then responds hits a standing backflip, then responds with a super kick of his own. Then of course his infamous match with William Regal, where William Regal he didn't lay down for Goldberg like the other guys did. He used complex submission and chain wrestling holds on Goldberg, chain wrestling holds on Goldberg. That was nearly, even though that was a quote unquote squash match, that was almost a squash match for Regal, because Regal completely dominated Goldberg in that match. Then when Goldberg's skills increased, they booked him in longer matches. The match he had, I think it was Slamboree '98 with Saturn, which was 9 minutes long. Then the 10-11-minute match with Diamond Dallas Page, the match of the year, one of the best matches, in my opinion, one of the best matches of Goldberg's career, was match of the year that year. Then his match with Nash, which was I think that was 15 minutes. His match with Nash, where his streak ended. Then his matches after that, his matches with Bam Bam Bigelow, which were 9 minutes. Then his matches with matches with Steiner and Nash, matches with Luger, the handicap match with Goldberg versus Luger and Bagwell, where his career ended, like I said. Then in WWE, he had a lot of garbage squash matches there too, but he also had a lot of his cage match with Christian, his match with Jericho, which a lot of people consider to be his best match. My favorite match and his best match, his match at Backlash 2003 with The Rock. Rock put him over strong. Then, of course, his matches with Triple H, which weren't the best, but they were at least like 13 minutes long and had all the stuff I wanted to see. and his match with Kane, his match with Randy Orton, Flair, and even his match with Lesnar, which was terrible. That match was better than the Survivor Series match. So they're capable of long matches. Get the hell out of here with what's getting. Yeah, it doesn't need to be no 20 to 30 minute match. That's fake. They need to stop doing that. You're trying to tell me these guys can fight for 20 minutes with no rest times, no protective gear, and no protective gear on. That's fake. If you go watch MMA or go watch the late Kimbo Slice's old street fights, you'll see those fights didn't even last a second. And you're trying to tell me WWE wrestlers can go 20 to 30 minutes? Can wrestle for 20 to 30 minutes? Then of course you got the what else? Oh yeah, you have the yeah, the Kimbo Slice match. The first couple of matches in the neighborhood, they only lasted a couple of seconds. They only lasted barely a minute. Barely a minute. They were under a minute long. They were under 1 and 2 minutes long. Under 1 and 2 minutes long. And then you had the best one, which was against a former, I think he's now a police officer, Sean Gannon, who competed in the original No Rules UFC. This was lasting 10 minutes. Lasting 10 minutes. But, so you're trying to tell me with no protective gear, they can fight for 20 to 30 minutes. No, keep it at 10 to 13 minutes. That's how long a match between these guys should be. It should not be a long time. You're athletic enough to do it, but they can't keep anyone invested in these matches like wrestlers like Ric Flair could. So all you people that defend that, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. Like I said, just terrible, man. Just terrible. Like I said, yeah, well, I think I've buried everything about WWE that was worth talking about. I'm done. I'm ready now. Tear this roof off for the town. Gonna give them what they came to see. Hear the crowd on the toe, ready for me to start the show. Now the curtain lights go up. Whoa, my father said when I was younger, my top dreams and took it all away, I give it all away. You take my freedom, you change the game, I'm better ready to play. I built my kingdom, now you have to pay. You said I crave the night, follow me till the end. I have my kingdom. You tried to tell me what to do. Right on the right road.